A discussion is being held between two guys regarding what is the best martial arts. One of them finds the questions good. He says if he had $1 million, he would gather the best of every martial arts school and hold a tournament. The second guy says that if he weren't talking about a ring competition and wanted to organize an opposition, he would have to say that the type of martial art is a crucial factor in determining who will win or lose. The first guy asks in that case what would determine the light and darkness. No matter what has happened, people always hesitate before ending their lives and vanishing away. But some people can handle both life and being vanished. In the end, that is what decides whether they will win or not. It is all perceptions of the value. There is no such thing as getting better physically or technically. These are just assumptions, let alone any type of atrial arts. The guy then goes to a martial arts class and asks for the teacher. The teacher asks if he wants to join them. The guy denies, stating Dodgestorming is no more. He tells the teacher not to expect him to answer his question about joining. The teacher apologizes, stating he is practicing with his sons. The guy asks if he wants to be humbled in front of his sons. The teacher denies this and introduces his youngest boy. He asks the guy if he would like to train with them. The guy finds this interesting, to be trained with some bunch of kids, and agrees. He says it must be hard to provide for this many children. He suggests allowing him to thin the number of throats he feeds. With that, he starts the opposition with the youngest kid of all. The kid wonders what the best martial art would be when both the opponents intend to vanish each other equally. He marches off towards the guy with his opposition skills. He wonders what the guy knows: boxing, karate, judo, taekwondo, muay, or Thai. He is sure that the guy isn't one of those mixed martial arts. They have lost their significance as a martial art. They are just a mere game. At worst, they are nothing but a tool of entertainment. Even if martial artists want to vanish, techniques of mixed arts don't allow them to do so. The kid easily takes over the big guy, and with the last blow he decides that if he must choose one, it would definitely be Shoshin Katsushiryu Kenpo, a legendary vanishing art that still lives today. After this, 15 years later, in a corporate office, the same kid is working as a salaryman. Everyone is busy in their jobs, discussing how they would be happy to do some PR in their shops. Two girls standing discussing the manual they are working on with the sales promotion team will be available at the end of this month. Just then, two guys look at a young man, the grown kid, discussing this PR thing with someone on the phone. He, Mitsuo Akamori, is now 24 years old. He is a confectionery product carvone who works in the product planning department. As he puts down his phone, a guy from behind calls Akamori, asking him to call it a day. He asks if Akamori is still working. Akamori agrees, stating he is scheduled to work overtime today. The guy points out that he is working too much, and that his desk is different from others. But Akamori denies, stating they must be the same. The guy thinks that Akamori is stupid from birth. He tells Akamori that this is why people push work onto him. He says no matter who, everybody would lose it if they were doing his job. He asks Akamori to make the job easy for himself, which is the golden rule. Akamori hands over some documents to the senior guy, wondering if he would like to do it. But the guy denies, stating he is not going to do it. He leaves after letting Akamori know and offering for a drink. However, Akamori denies, stating he isn't thirsty. After that, he gets back to work. He looks for a sample manual, wondering where he put it. A girl named Kashiwa Kita, a 22-year-old employee sitting next to him, stares at him while he is busy with his work. Kashiwa calls Akamori, asking if he is working overtime again. Akamori agrees, stating he got a shack full of work left to do. Kashiwa asks what he is working on. Akamori replies, stating he is preparing a sales manual and package for products. Also, he is scrutinizing market research reports and plans training courses for new salespeople. He is also sending request forms to advertising agencies. Nervous, Kashiwa asks Akamori if he is doing all this by himself, to which he agrees, stating she may say that they leave everything to him. Kashiwa thinks that this is a total imposition. She says that if he keeps working like this, he is eventually going to lose it. But Akamori assures her that he is fine. He says he works at home too. Kashiwa asks Akamori not to strain himself. He apologizes, stating he has got his hands full these days because he wants to be able to do something way more important. Kashiwa asks what's more important than what he wants to do. He replies, stating he wants to train her as she is a trainee. Kashiwa says that it is alright as she is learning enough just being next to him. Akamori asks her not to hesitate to ask for help if she has any problem with work, to which she agrees. She soon calls it a day and greets Akamori good night. At 10:30, Akamori is still working in the office all by himself. He is typing continuously and gets tired. He puts his head down and decides to sleep there for just 5 minutes. But he is contemplating if he should sleep or not, as he will sleep till morning if she sleeps now. After some thinking, he packs his laptop, saying he will have to deal with the rest of the work at home again. He leaves for his home soon. While going back, he wonders if he is tired. Just then, he asked himself if he had submitted the report today. He could not remember if he had submitted the report because of working too much. It is already 11:30. Akamori comes across a park and sits on a bench to check the report. As he is taking his stuff out, the wind makes his documents fly away. When he looks up to see his papers, he comes across a group of people torturing a guy who is apologizing about something. Akamori looks at the group wondering, aiming at a middle-aged man in this day and age. Only ignorant and short-sighted people would do such a thing. He bets that their life would be way easier. He picks up his documents and decides to leave and find another place. But the group leader sees him walking by and stops him, asking if he has seen them. Akamori denies seeing anything. He states he was just taking a break. But the group leaders don't buy it. He beats Akamori and asks him to give him his wallet and empty his pockets. Akamori says he doesn't have any money, but the group members laugh at him. The group leader grabs Akamori from his collars, asking him to do as he says, or he will vanish him. This triggers Akamori, who drops his bag, stating it isn't that easy to vanish him. He beats the group leader, asking what he was saying about vanishing people. Akamori then breaks the group leader's hand and beats him in his jaws, stating he is going to beat his 5th vertebrae now. He then implements it while also explaining first, breathing will get harder. After a couple of seconds, the nerves below his 6th vertebrae will be severely damaged. Then, the muscles below his shoulders will be rigid. He will lose his ability to feel and become paralyzed. After that, he will hold the guy until he vanishes away. Akamori says that the guy won't be able to even react. He will vanish in pain and fear. Once he is done with the main leader, he tells the other guys that he is going to do the same with them. Afraid, they take out their tools to compete with Akamori. They march towards him to vanish him, but Akamori sees it. He stops the guy before he can even reach him. He asks if he is afraid of being stabbed, as he is aiming for his shoulder. Akamori beats the guy, asking him to hold his tool with 2 hands. After that, only one of the group members is left. As expected, he also marches towards Akamori, hoping to vanish him using his stun tool. But Akamori takes the upper hand as usual. He breaks his enemy's arm, making the tool fall. He suggests using a teaser if he really wants to do something. Terrified, before the guy could do anything, Akamori grabbed his head and beat him while aiming at the vertebrates. The guy wets his pants because of terror. This makes Akamori remember the competition he had with the guy when he was a kid. He vanished the guy in an instant that time. His father appraised him for his skills. He told Akamori that having robust muscles and subtle movements through all phases of opposition makes him an MMA-level competitor. But power doesn't mean anything when faced with Shoshin Katsushoryu and him. He reminded Akamori that this was his 3rd opposition and suggested vanishing 10 people next time. The teacher involved some other people too, stating vanishing a competitor would be fairly easy for them. He suggested everyone keep working hard like Akamori. But in the end, Akamori is the most gifted vanisher in their family. At present, Akamori speaks to the guy, stating he is going to vanish him. This is because he wants to stay as a salaryman. It turns out none of them were vanished in the same place. He says vanishing someone is not that easy, but in his case, it is easier than being a salaryman. Akamori Raku, a 24-year-old salaryman. This story tells about the path he walked as a salaryman, and that path is covered with blood. The dark figure living in the modern era disappears into the darkness and keeps working hard. The next day, Akamori falls asleep while working hard in the office. His coffee on the table is about to fall off while he is sleeping when Kawashi asks the guy named Katsuragi if he teaches Shorinji Kenpo. Katsuragi replies, stating he teaches elementary and middle school students on weekends. Kawashi says she has joined the Shorinji club at university, to which Katsuragi tells her that this is where he met his now wife. He asks why Kawashi joined the club, as many people do it as an exercise. Kawashi finds it rather tiring. Katsuragi says doing exercises relieves stress. He says Akamori's living style makes him stressed. Kawashi tries to deny that when the coffee next to Akamori is about to fall on the ground. Fortunately, Akamori wakes up on time and saves the coffee bottle with the help of his foot. He stands up to wash his face. Katsuragi notices him and says Akamori seems tired. He suggests taking a break now and then. He says it is clear that Akamori isn't well and suggests doing some sports. Kawashi interrupts, stating that Akamori is busy. She looks at him, saying it looks like he does some kind of sports. She asks Akamori if he works with someone else. Akamori responds, saying he usually just sits at home and watches Salaryman Jin Teru. Kawashi finds this boring, to which Akamori says it is surprisingly fun. It is a profound show that shows him how to be an ordinary salaryman. He adds that it is a great learning experience, making Kawashi wonder why is he suddenly so excited. While Katsuragi realizes it was because of the TV show all along. Katsuragi asks what is good in the show, as it is all about exposing the injustice in companies and opposing the bosses. Everybody does that. Akamori replies saying it is a TV show which is about an ordinary salaryman who tries to achieve perfect attendance. But Katsuragi doesn't find it fun at all. He says to Akamori that he will lose his mind if he keeps shutting himself home and watching that stuff. He suggests coming with him to learn Shorinji Kenpo. He says strong dudes get popular among girls. However, Akamori rejects the offer, stating there is no chance for him. Katsuragi asks what if he ever has to face an opposition. But Akamori smiles, asking how is that even going to happen. Kawashi also defends him, saying she has never seen any opposition. Katsuragi says what if some drunk man beats him in the stomach. He asks what would Akamori do then. To his surprise, Akamori says he would bend down and get past the man. This makes Katsuragi laugh as he finds Akamori too funny. He suggests letting him know if he ever gets beaten by someone, but Akamori says there is no way something like this would ever happen. Later that day, the gang from yesterday goes to meet someone and explain everything about how they were beating an old man, and then a salaryman intervenes and he gets angry. Then they decided to beat him with their tools and stuff, and then all of a sudden that salaryman beat the three of them. He asks if this is why they didn't come yesterday. He reminds them that he had told the three of them about the important deal they had. He says he thought they were smarter and stronger than Yakuza, but they underestimated this world, or they underestimated him. The guy declares that the deal has been postponed because of them. He says if they get caught, they will be executed now. But one of them says that the salaryman isn't normal. No one can win against him. The dealer laughs it off, stating he is scaring him. He is about to beat the guy when he stops. With his shoes a few inches away from the guy's face, the dealer asks if even the former junior kickboxing champion can't win against him. It turns out the dealer's name is Ayada Kenshin, who is a 24-year-old former kickboxing junior champion. The gang guy denies Ayada Kenshin losing against Akamori because of their fear. Ayada says that they have been really lucky today. The guy apologizes continuously for saying something like this about the salaryman. But Ayada asks if the salaryman Akamori seriously tried to vanish them. The guy agrees, stating he beat Akamori on his throat with his stun gun, but nothing happened. Surprised, Ayada asked what does he meant by that. He asked if he missed it because he was scared. But the guy says he is telling the truth. The second guy in the group agrees and says he wants to stab the salaryman, but nothing happens. Ayada says that the salaryman must be a martial artist then. This shocks the gang leader. Ayada says they aimed at the salaryman but nothing happened. That is something they don't see often in martial arts sports. It is a basic dodging move in Chinese martial arts. In this move, he has to fix his pelvis and then move his chest and head parallelly at the same time. Ayada says even if this move looks easy, it is hard to master. If someone were to master it, he is sure even the professional would be the same as him. The second guy in the group says he doesn't know much, but even if that guy is a martial artist like he said, he is sure that he has seen through his moves and beat him up. Ayada beats the guy, terrifying the others. Ayada says all of a sudden this guy has the audacity to change his idea about his strength. He beats the guy more, stating it is not that he forgives him, but he is interested. He has a height of 188 centimeters and a leg length of 92 centimeters, and he kicks at the speed of 3 per second. He says he will nail his opponent to the ground and he will get that guy instead of them. On the other hand, Akamori is going back home when he gets a call from Katsuragi, who acknowledges Akamori for working hard today. Upon asking about the cause of the call, Katsuragi said he needed some important documents urgently. He wants documents about the planning for the strawberry chips that were released last year. Katsuragi asks if he has the documents. Akamori agrees, stating he has them on his PC. Katsuragi asks if he could send it to him. Akamori asks if he wants it right now, to which Katsuragi agrees. Akamori tells Katsuragi that there are no cafes or parks nearby, so he will run home first. Katsuragi asks if he can make it in 30 minutes. He requested Akamori to run home so that he could send the documents. Left with no choice, Akamori decides to run home when he comes across the same 3 gang members he had beaten the other day. The gang leader apologizes for stopping Akamori and asks if he remembers what happened yesterday. Akamori looks at them, stating he should be the one asking this question. The leader asks if he is trying to act cool. Ayada is with them at the moment and asks if Akamori is the guy who had beaten them yesterday. Ayada looks at Akamori, thinking it seems like he doesn't want to compete. More importantly, his body is weak and not suitable for competing. He wonders if Akamori is really the one who beat those 3. The gang leader asks Ayada to deal with Akamori. Because of this, Ayada gets interested suddenly. He apologizes to Akamori, stating he is going to beat him really well is because of him. These three people didn't come to work yesterday. Akamori drops his bag, stating he doesn't get why he showed mercy on these three yesterday. He says maybe he will find out after vanishing them this time. His entire mood and behavior shift at the very instant, making Ayada realize how Akamori has transformed into a completely different person. He is sure that this is the same guy who beat those three up. He gets ready to compete with Akamori, stating he is pretty unlucky today. Akamori asks what he means by unlucky. Ayada marches forward towards Akamori with his flying leg, but Akamori easily dodges it. He holds Ayada's other leg and makes him fall. He says he doesn't get it, as he would have vanished if he wanted to. But this isn't about luck. All he needs to do is kick his vertebral column. He is about to do the live implementation of how he does the vanishing, but stops at the very last moment. He says he was just kidding. He is just a salaryman. But today he was really unlucky and Ayada is really lucky. He clarifies that he has quit vanishing people. Ayada and the rest are shocked to see what just happened. Akamori leaves after checking the time on his phone. He is worried that he might be late. Amidst all of this, someone is making a video of what happened between Ayada and Akamori and posting it on social media for the entire world to see. Soon, his post gets many views, likes, and comments. People are calling Akamori the strongest in the area. Some say that it is too far and dark to make out who that person is. Akamori's video gets 7,706 tweets and he becomes the trend of the time. On that same day, the post got 77,000 views. There was only one person who found out the truth, a Karatka. He looked at the video repeatedly and realized that the guy who does the sidekick is not a martial artist. Just a while later, in the Nikaho Kenpo Kai Academy, the post is seen by two other boxers to find out the truth. They wonder if the guy in the video is Akamori. One of them says it is still not too late. Since then, the realization started to spread more and more among the martial artists in Japan. The young man in this video was not an ordinary master. He was the embodiment of the notorious Shoshin Katsushoryu. Shoshin Katsushoryu is a vanishing technique that has been taught for centuries in the Akamori family, which is known as the Bloody Family. On its core lies the defensive technique that is beyond human skills, and offensive techniques that focus on destroying cervical vertebrae. Many fathers, teachers, and friends have vanished by it. That teaching of darkness is many martial artists' sworn enemy. There were already hundreds of them. Shoshin Katsushoryu is the Akamori family's heritage. Despite them being the sworn competitors of many martial artists, they have been able to conceal themselves until now. There have been some shady witnesses of their acts, but this guy is different. Right now, Akamori is somewhere in the crowd walking on the streets, vanishing on sight. As a start, the sixth son of the Akamori family has been found by bad guys. Today, he is totally unlucky. The next day, Akamori's video goes viral, and the person who posted it shows off, stating he was the one behind all this. His friend asks how he did this, to which the guy replies, stating all he has to do is use the camera whenever he sees something interesting while walking around the streets. His friend asks him if someone has contacted him from the TV, to which the guy says they did, but he rejected them as they weren't paying him anything. Just then, he gets a notification from someone which shocks him. It turns out someone is asking him to contact them. They want to know more about the guy in the video, the background information about the video, and the person in the video. They are also willing to pay. He is surprised to see that someone is contacting him to pay 20 million yen for the viral video. On the other hand, on the Carvone first floor, Space Cafe, Akamori and Kawashi are discussing their work. Akamori suggests that he will do the presentation on the new product. If they ask any questions, he asks Kawashi to note them down. After this, he decides to end the meeting and apologizes to Kawashi for always leaving the note-taking part to her. But Kawashi doesn't mind it, as she is learning a lot from him. She greets him best of luck with his presentation. Akamori asks if she has any ideas she can share with him, but she doesn't have much to say. He asks if there is anything else she doesn't understand so far. Kawashi takes a look at her notes to see if she needs to ask about something. Just then, she hears people talking about the incident that happened nearby. Apparently, a man aimed at a police officer, who was interrogating him with a sharp tool. It is nearby, and surprisingly the suspect is on the run. Someone vanished in this whole scene. This terrifies Kawashi, but Akamori doesn't even flinch. She looks at him, asking if he is not scared of what the people are saying. Akamori questions why would he be scared of talking. Akamori lost his feelings a while ago, so he doesn't know how to react to such conditions. He looks at Kawashi and says he usually gets scared. But right now, he just zoned out. Nervous, Kawashi says he has been working really hard lately, she guesses. She says she gets scared to go home whenever she hears things like that. Akamori understands her situation. He suggests he will walk with her to the station near the office as it is just a 10-minute walk. Kawashi doesn't think it is a good idea. Akamori says they sit together at the cafe, so they may also go home together like lovers. Kawashi thinks he is just joking with her. She says what he is saying is a joke. People don't usually say it like that. Awkward. Akamori apologizes for saying serious things as a joke. He thinks he cannot get a grasp of himself today. He needs to act normal. Kawashi tells Akamori that he is airheadly funny. Akamori laughs it off, stating he can say weird stuff sometimes. Just then, Katsuragi interrupts them, stating Kawashi is right. Akamori is indeed an airhead. Kawashi thanks Katsuragi for his work today. He says that Akamori has been working really hard since he started working here, but sometimes he becomes a total airhead and dumbfounds everybody. He tells Kawashi that she will get used to it. Katsuragi adds that when Akamori joined the company, it was worse. Akamori asks him to stop this story, but Kawashi insists on knowing. So Katsuragi tells Kawashi that when Akamori joined the company back in the day, Akamori came to him stating Sato took a day off because his father vanished. He looked at Akamori to find him taking note of the case. Shocked, he asked why he asked about it. To his surprise, Akamori said he, too, can take a day off when his parents pass away. Shocked, Katsuragi asked Akamori if he knew what it was like to take a day off because of mourning. At present, he tells Akamori he has been an airhead since the beginning. Kawashi asks about airhead, to which Katsuragi says even the students know what that is. Akamori says with all due respect, he doesn't think he is wrong here. Katsuragi is surprised to hear that. Akamori explains that they didn't teach something like that at the university, shocking Katsuragi. After the day ended, Akamori and Kawashi walked together to the station nearby where they bid each other goodbyes and continued going back home. Akamori looks around the station to find several police inspectors roaming around. He thinks that they have increased the security. He wonders aren't these kinds of incidents are normal. He is surprised at calling these incidents normal. He thought he had learned a lot over the last few years. Still, there are a few things he doesn't know about. Akamori is about to enter the train while wondering if he doesn't hold grudges, but because of all this, he really doesn't like his father. He remembers his father during his childhood. He remembers when he told his father that he wanted to quit vanishing people. He responded by stating this doesn't sound like him. Quitting vanishing people means losing the very reason for his existence. He asked what drove him to this inner conflict. Akamori's father told him that he was only 16. He guessed that he couldn't carry the burden of vanishing 1,000 martial artists. Akamori replied saying something like that won't be a problem to him because of the way he was raised. But whenever he vanishes someone, he feels like a part of himself fades away. Akamori's father asked him if he felt empty or maybe weak. He said the match that happened yesterday had already decided his fate. He said he could leave the dojo and blend in, live in society. Shocked, Akamori asked if he wasn't going to oppose his decision. But his father said he couldn't care less as he could not escape the never-ending struggle that has been destined for their family. Now at present, when Akamori is already on the train, he assures himself that he will certainly live a normal life like a normal person and he will keep on living that way. He is thinking about his decision when someone on the train takes out a sharp pointy tool and runs toward Ngai, penetrating the tool in his neck. Everyone is shocked to see what just happened. The culprit is relieved that he finally found him to the person he just vanished. Everyone on the train starts to run for their lives. Someone asks to call the police, but no one bothers to do anything at all. The vanisher says they have all been after him, but he was the first of all. He says that he has vanished his father 3 years ago. His mother also left him after that, and this is all his fault. That's why he has made up his mind to definitely vanish him with his own hands, because he made a promise. He is looking at the guy almost about to vanish now when Akamori comes from behind. The man with the sharp tool looks at Akamori. He suddenly remembers him from the video because of his bag. He marches off to vanish him as well, but Akamori stops him, beating him in defense. He tells the guy not to do such kind of things on his commuter pass. With just one blow, the guy falls to the ground. Akamori catches the sharp tool like a pro, stating he is just a salaryman, so such things can be very exhausting. The people around them are shocked to see what just happened. They weren't expecting the viral guy on the train. No one is able to believe their eyes. They wonder if this whole scene is real. They find it too dangerous. Akamori takes advantage of the situation after realizing that his colleagues aren't on the train. He drops the tool on the seat near him. He checks his phone and finds out that the next station is only one way. It is going to take around 3 hours until they fix the problem. He is worried that if things keep going this way, he is going to miss episode 7 of Jin-Taru. Soon, the news reaches the police at the station. They start their investigation asking if the passenger aimed at someone. Some guy from the same train explains that Akamori took the bad guy down in an instant. The policeman asks about Akamori, but the guy explains that Akamori was in a hurry. The policeman decides to go after Akamori after hearing the entire situation. On the other hand, Akamori is running to go back home while wondering if he is getting tired of all this. He can't really vanish people. Just then, he realizes that one of the buttons on his shirt is missing. He wonders how much more unlucky he has to be today. As he is leaving, another guy finds him stating he isn't that late. He gives information about Akamori to some men in suits stating it looks like it was worth 20 million yen. It turns out, he is the same guy who made the video that went viral. He orders the men to follow Akamori. One of the men among all has round glasses and focuses on Akamori, the sixth son. He says even if the time has passed, the Akamori family will still be known for its Shoshin Katsushiryu. He says in order to stop Akamori, he will have to act first class, but he assures everyone not to worry as well as he is an ex-professional. The next day, Kawashi is scribbling some ideas in a notebook when Akamori comes to check up on her. He looks at her saying it looks like Kawashi is having trouble but he has arrived in time. He asks if she is looking for ideas for the meeting. Frustrated, Kawashi rests her arms on the table saying she doesn't know what to write about. Akamori says anything would work as long as its novelty is at the forefront. Sketch or photo, it doesn't matter as both would work. He asks Kawashi if she would like to see him as a reference. Kawashi agrees and asks Akamori to show his work. When she gets to see Akamori's work, she is stunned by how amazingly neat his idea is. Just then, she spots an eagle-like design on his work, finding it scary. Nervously, she asks if they can make food-shaped food. She is talking about how the data says it is 85% bald when Katsuragi calls Akamori. Both of them greet each other. Then, Katsuragi asks Akamori if he got the news. Akamori doesn't know anything about the news and asks for details. Katsuragi says it has been on all the channels since yesterday. He says someone was aimed on a train and it is right near here. He says the person who was aimed at vanished. Akamori acts as if he doesn't know anything at all. Kawashi is also shocked to hear that. Katsuragi says he wanted to ask him because he was on the train at that time. Akamori denies it while wondering if he didn't expect that to be this serious. He calms himself saying this is normal. Katsuragi asks what is he talking about, to which Akamori lies stating it happened on the train that was behind his. Katsuragi is relieved to hear that and thanks God for saving Akamori. Just then, Kawashi says she has seen this on the internet. If she remembers correctly, that guy left the aimer half alive. Nervous, Akamori says he has no idea what is she talking about. Kawashi says it was posted with that title. Katsuragi also agrees, stating it was on the internet. He talks about the leaked video. They show the video to Akamori, shocking him. Katsuragi says that the video is titled The Strongest Salaryman. He says that the man in the train and the video are the same person. Worried and nervous, Akamori says he doesn't like watching such kind of stuff. But Katsuragi insists and starts playing the video. On the other hand, two men just finished beating a bunch of people. After that, one of them said there was no way these delinquents pretended as one of them. They kept doing whatever they wanted. It turns out to be Hangar Shinjuku Savage's leader, Yusuke Dujin. He tells Ayada that the most annoying part is that the video is going viral. He says this all happened because Ayada underestimates the salaryman. Ayada asks Yusuke if he is joking about him. Yusuke denies, stating he is just worried about him. He plays with his tool and explains to Ayada that the airgun in his hand is a Walther PPS. He says if disrespected is enough to make Ayada vanish himself like a premature former junior kickboxing champion, then he needs to get rid of his big pride. Ayada tells Yusuke not to mess with him or he will vanish as well. Yusuke asks Ayada to stop this when Yakuza organization Aomagumi young leader Gazu Tanaka arrives at the area. Gazu tells Yusuke not to be that proud of himself as he and his members are no more than insects. Yusuke asks Gazu what he wants all of a sudden, as he did fire Shinogi because of his laziness. Gazu finds it hilarious that even Yusuke men got clapped by that salaryman. He says he would have vanished himself if he was in his place. This makes Yusuke angry. He asks if that was an incitement. If so, he doesn't get what Gazu is at. He asks if he came all that way just to mess with them. Gazu Tanaka asks Yusuke to calm down. He says their hands are tied because of the anti-Boryokyuden law. He says they are going to need his help in the future. He says he is very grateful to Ayada as because of him. He laughed pretty hard on the video. One of Tanaka's men plays with Ayada's hair, saying he should be happy today. This angers Ayada, who asks him if he is really unlucky today. Shocked, Tanaka asks what he just said. Aota beats Tanaka's man in front of him, making everyone shocked. An opposition starts between them and Aota tells everyone not to mess with him. Just then, the guy with those round glasses appears out of nowhere, taking Aota by one blow. He laughs, stating he didn't expect Aota to be a front kick in a real opposition, but this is what he expected from an experienced kicker. However, he says that Aota's feet are a tool that he doesn't use. He adds that he must say he is an amateur. He suggests using everything that he has. He stepped forward without getting daunted by the front kick. In an instant, he locked Aota's feet and pointed a pen at his throat. Aota is shocked to see how this glasses guy read through his moves and instantly reacted to it. Tanaka stops the glasses man and decides to discuss business with Yu Yusuke. He says he has a job for him. The salaryman who beat up Aota is a member of a family that was once their sworn enemy. He knows that Yu Yusuke has his own honor to protect, but he asks him not to retaliate. The young leader ordered them to deal with him. He introduced the glasses guy as Aomegumi's private vanisher, Gumakuji Mata. Yu Yusuke does believe a word Tanka said. He says that the salaryman was nothing but an ordinary man. Gumakuji decides to leave now. It is just an alias, but he hopes they can meet again. On the other hand, Akamori sees his entire video in front of Katsuragi and Kawashi, who are amazed by the man in the video. While they are excited about the guy's move in the video, Akamori is nervous to see it. He is sweating at this point. It is indeed a shocking video for him. He has a bad feeling about this. The enemies of Akamori are having a meeting where they discuss about Akamori's daily life. They have collected some information about Akamori, who works as a confectionery manufacturer at Carvone. He lives in KDS houses. Security is tight and the apartment number is unknown. Tanaka says that 1 week has already passed. He asks Gumakuji what's become of the plan they have discussed at work. Gumakuji says that apparently, Akamori is acting more cautiously lately. He says Akamori may have sensed that he is being aimed. Tanaka asks Gumakuji if he is making things up, but Gumakuji denies, stating he believes they are ready for opposition. He is about to say something when a guy from behind puts an airgun on Gunakuji's head, stating he already paid a fortune for this. He tells Gunakuji that overseas mafias are already looking for him. He says that if he keeps leaving them like this, he will have to face the consequences. Just then, Gumakuji beats the man with his tool and breaks his arm, pinning him down on the ground. He says if his enemies were this weak, he wouldn't have any problem. He assures Tanaka that no matter how cautious Akamori is, there will be times that he will have to let his guard down. Tanaka asks what he thinks about all this. Gunakuji says that Akamori will vanish in 3 hours. As the enemies have joined hands, Akamori is busy congratulating Kawashi. Her fortune cookie Kame-chan did really well in the meeting. Katsuragi states that this will be really good for her. Kawashi denies all this, stating she was just lucky. But Akamori states this is amazing as she has joined the planning meeting for the first time. Compared to Akamori, who didn't do well, Katsuragi asks what is a bald eagle-shaped chocolate during their meeting. He found it scary and frustrating that he needed just one more idea, but here are no ideas left for him to find. Akamori tries to defend his idea, stating that it was a new one. No one has ever designed bald eagle-shaped chocolate. He says there is no way someone would ever do that. Katsuragi says they are corpse-eating birds. Aside from the fact that there is no flaw at all, Akamori tries to argue but fails. Kawashi encourages him by saying she likes high idea. Frustrated, he heads down wondering if cockroach crackers would be better, but Kawashi suggests they quit being the ideators. Just then, someone calls Akamori, reminding him about an interview at 2 p.m. Kawashi wonders what is the interview about. Akamori wears his coat in a hurry while replying to Kawashi that the interview is about an article that would be about trainers responsible for new graduates or something like that. Kawashi got excited about the interview and wished Akamori the best of luck. Katsuragi jokes at Akamori, asking him not to forget about mentioning bald eagle-shaped chocolate. Akamori goes to take the interview while asking how long is it going to take. It turns out that the man he is talking to is none other than Gunakuji. He tells Akamori that it won't take more than 10 minutes if they proceed without a problem. He looks at Akamori, wondering if he is one of the family members named Raku Akamori. They decide to take a seat to start their interview. Everyone thinks they are professional in their own work. Gunakuji wonders, even though Raku Akamori is a legendary vanisher, he questions if he has ever felt excited from it. Just by abducting one of the employees, it is possible to steal their access card and gain access to their infrastructure, including their confidential data. Gunakuji starts the interview by asking Akamori the first question. He asks Akamori if he has noticed anything while training new graduates. Gunakuji is without any doubt more interested in knowing more about Akamori and not in the interview. He wonders about the technique that surpasses human ability, Shoshin Katsushoryu Kenpo. That being said, in terms of the difficulty of an assassination, vanishing someone is not a problem. However, the crucial part is the execution of the technique. Considering the aftermath of the assassination, being seen by someone here would be inconvenient. Therefore, Gunakouji will cunningly aim at Akamori from below. He decides to finish Akamori with his knife, which has a toxicity of more than 70 times that of puffer fish poison, palytoxin. If it is injected into someone's leg, it will vanish the person instantly. This way, Akamori won't have any time to react. If everything goes wrong, he can just suffocate Akamori until he vanishes. He finds all this too easy to do. He asks Akamori the second question, stating what is the hardest part of his job. Akamori begins to answer the question, taking advantage of the situation. Gunakouji takes out the knife from his shoe and moves his leg towards Akamori to end the game. But to his surprise, Akamori is too smart for him. He notices the leg movement and the knife and stops Gunakouji with his leg. He answers Gunakouji's questions, stating interferences like this are the hardest part of his job. Gunakouji tries to push the knife towards Akamori, but Akamori moves his chair, making Gunakouji slip through the table onto the other side. Shocked, Gunakouji wonders how Akamori realized all this. He puts his leg in the air to kick Akamori. However, as expected, Akamori uses the chair to defend himself. He locks Gunakouji's leg in the chair and drags him. Akamori says he never thought that professionals would aim at him, but as a professional himself, he can see through his moves. Gunakouji realizes that Akamori has been paying attention to every move he has been making, and still, his body's center of gravity is unnaturally stable. Akamori says it is not that he became a professional yesterday. Gunakouji asks Akamori if he left an opening intentionally. He says this is what he had expected from an Akamori. This built up tension. He felt it last time when he was vanishing someone from the Ministry of Defense. Gunakouji takes out his pen that he converts into a gun, stating he really doesn't want to do this. He pulls the trigger, but Akamori dodges it. Akamori reminds Gunakouji that they are in the office. Gunakouji laughs, stating he will compensate with a bullet in his head. The strongest mafia in the US is the Luciato family. Working there as their bodyguard is the most evil human alive, Mata Gumano, Allbugs Silva. Gunakouji asks for some additional payment for unearthing 3 people. He knows it is still his job, even if it is to test his true strength. The guy with him states he has grasped his capabilities, the strength that defies logic. He has specifically selected heavyweight black belt judoists, even if Gunakouji is a professional hitman. It is unrealistic to instantly vanish 3 people without getting a single scratch. He asks Gunakouji how did he it. He explains that it is just a simple logic. They were simply careless. Once his aim starts to get comfortable, he strikes. That is what a hitman needs to do. He says that there are several types of careless people. First are the ones who think they won't be aimed. The next are those who think they won't get unearthed. And lastly, those who think they can protect themselves. Or should he say, those who think they can turn the tables. Indeed, the friendly aura one creates alone gives them a head start. The guy says that even if Gunakouji has revealed how he actually works, he still finds himself getting careless around him. He says that Akamori too will get careless, to which Gunakouji says he will only if he is still here on Earth. This is the main story. They had plotted against Akamori while aiming for him. Well, that would be a different story. For famous martial artists from a school of actual combat, the logic generally doesn't apply to them. They aren't careless, and Gunakouji already knows that real combat isn't that easy. They aim only to unearth their enemy and opponents. Yet, there are times when they get careless, which is very rare, but it happens. They get careless for just a second. Only professionals do this, and it occurs when they are too experienced. When that moment comes, that is when the strike is made. With that in mind, Akamori strikes at Gunakouji. Now, all his tactics are useless. None of his tricks will go through. This is the end. It is because these professionals are stronger than they appear. They get careless because of their assured victory. And at that moment, he decides to use his trump card. Gunakouji remembers showing his partners his new tool, a modified finger, which is an aluminum dagger. It is a product of the latest science and technology. It is a tool for modern hitmen. When his aim is confident that they have won, he will use this. With this, he will do a counter competition that goes beyond common sense and imagination. Even if Akamori is a martial artist, he can't defend again. Gunakouji remembers his modified finger and tries to use it. But to his surprise, Akamori tells him he has already explained he won't be able to touch real martial artists with a toy like that. He says with just a single blow, he has injured Gunakouji's mastoid, atlas, and mandible. From this, his whole body stops moving for a while. He leaves Gunakouji standing there and says he has underestimated martial arts. It is unfortunate, but he has lost. Akamori says he doesn't know who hired him, but he probably came after seeing the videos of him. He finds it way too reckless for Ganakuji. Akamori tells Ganakuji that the world he lives in and the world in which he lives are completely different. As he is talking, a girl comes inside the room. She tells Akamori that from 3 p.m., this meeting room is not available. Akamori sits on the chair right now chilling when he apologizes and tells her that they will finish right away, and asks if she could give them 2 more minutes. As the girl leaves, Akamori hopes that Ganakuji gets it now. He doesn't have time to play with these guys. He is so busy at work that it is a very complex situation. This makes Ganakuji realize that they truly live in 2 different worlds. As the day ends, the girl who came into the room earlier can be seen talking to someone on the phone. She explains that Ganakuji failed his mission. Therefore, the plan to unearth Akamori failed. The man on the phone asks about Ganakuji, to which she replies stating she already took care of him. She gets an order to get rid of Akamori too before anyone else does it. She hangs up the phone while wondering how Akamori got popular by vanishing that skilled hitman. Now that it has come to this, it is not only going to be people seeking revenge. This has become quite exciting. Later, a girl and a guy can be seen talking about Ganakuji. The girl says that according to the information, no one has heard a word from him since then. They are talking about Ganakuji when a blind girl hears them from afar because of their high pitches. She looks at her phone getting the notification about the situation. She soon finds out that Ganakuji has screwed over while trying to vanish Akamori over and over. She looks at the emoji in the text wondering what's with that carefree emoji. On the other hand, a guy is looking at her from behind. His face is covered with a hood while he keeps saying Akamori's name. At the airport, another man gives his entry. The fuse has been lit, he says. Martial artists and competitors from different countries have already infiltrated Japan. The one to defeat Akamori will be the strongest. A whole competition has started against Akamori while he sits on his chair working as an ordinary salaryman. A while ago, when Akamori left the room, a girl named Lily, who is a United Nations secret agent, came in asking if the room was empty now. Ganakuji apologizes for the delay, stating he accidentally broke a fluorescent light so glass shards are all over the place. He suggests she move into another room. To his surprise, Lily says he is a disgrace for a legendary assassin and calls him by his name. This shocks Ganakuji and he asks how she knows his name. She says that he and Akamori have been added to the United Nations aiming list. Ganakuji asks if the United Nations came all the way here just to capture him. Lily denies, stating she is only cleaning personnel amongst the United Nations intelligence operatives who eliminate evil based on the principles of peace. Ganakuji questions if this is an assassination, as she seems to be enjoying herself despite all that. He says it is hard for him to believe that peace is a righteous cause. He tells her that she got the vanishing order wrong. He says just a moment ago, he sent a signal to his former organization, the Luciato family. He says he has asked them to spread the news that he has been defeated by Akamori. That is to say, there will be revengers with a grudge against the Akamori family and competitors who wish to be the strongest. He says they all be soon here to collect the head of Akamori. Before he can complete his last sentence, Lily sues her tools to unearth him. She finds his plan quite a clever revenge, but the struggle for supremacy looks like a lot of fun to her. The next day, Kawashi looks at Akamori, stating he has spilled his coffee. She asks if everything is okay as he is drenched to the bone. But Akamori is too busy thinking about what happened yesterday. He wonders what would have happened if someone had seen them yesterday while he was competing with Ganakuji. He thinks that his senses are slightly off again. He wonders that if there is a hole in a wall or anywhere in the room, he will be fired and lose his job. He goes to check the room to find that it has already been cleaned. He is surprised to find a painting for the hole in the wall. He also notices that the fluorescent light is brand new. He just cannot believe that Ganakuji did all this. As he is looking through the room, Katsuragi finds him and suggests ending his work for today if he is slacking off, since he is coming to have some drinks with the boss too. Akamori agrees and tells Katsuragi that he will get ready right away. Katsuragi looks at Akamori's shirt asking what's wrong with it. After that, they go to have some drinks with the boss. Akamori thinks that as long as boss is here, even a drinking party is work. A person's social skills are shown at such parties. That means it is a place where they are judged on whether they can be a friend that is able to share joys and sorrows together. Akamori thinks that there are 100 foolproof ways for a capable colleague to win. He decides to order first. The menu should be suitable for the guest's age group. If people over 40 years old are here, it is better to avoid greasy dishes. He decides to go with what the book says and calls the refreshment. Soon, their food arrives, which turns out to be ice cream. Everyone looks at Akamori with confusion for some time. Then, Katsuragi tells him that these ice cream bowls belong to Akamori. Now he asks for some edamame and apologizes to the boss on behalf of Akamori, stating he is just doing the usual. Kawashi asks to have one ice cream bowl. This shocks Akamori, who still can't believe what he has done. He tries to calm himself by saying he can still recover from what he did. He remembers that according to the book, it is better to match his drinking pace with his boss. After some time, when everyone is enjoying their time, Kawashi says it's been a while since she did all this. Katsuragi suggests Kawashi slow down, but Akamori denies it, stating as a member of society, she needs to be able to drink some more. Shocked, Katsuragi asks if is he really the one saying all this. He looks at Akamori, saying he lost his senses after 3 glasses. He says he can't get enough of watching Akamori. Akamori leaves them to use the restroom as he feels sick. Akamori is having the time of his life when someone blows at his face with his leg. But even in such a state, Akamori manages to defend himself and stop the blow. It turns out that the guy's name is Lee H1. Lee tells Akamori that he has made quite a scene outside, due to which it was easy to find him. Lee stands up, stating his homeland is waiting for Akamori to vanish. Nervous, Akamori wonders if a very troublesome enemy is here. There is no way he would vanish Lee in a place like this. There are too many people. He thinks if they really have to compete, then it should be outside to avoid a repeat. He would like to run if possible, but he doesn't feel like he can. He realizes that the situation can't be helped. He decides to compete as long as his colleagues don't find out. He tells Lee to do the competition outside when Kawashi comes in. She asks what's all the fuss about. This worries Akamori more as he wonders what he should do now. Lee doesn't hesitate with surprise blows. He is afraid Lee will start aiming during the few seconds it takes to convince Kawashi to return upstairs. Regardless of whether he defends or not, if Kawashi witnesses this, it will cause a commotion for sure. He wonders about the flashy dash out of the store, but he knows that this won't work either. If people see Lee chasing him, it will still be the same. Akamori wonders what he should do at a time like this. To his surprise, someone shuts people by throwing a chair towards them. Akamori asks him to keep quiet. He asks why is he wearing a hoodie in the first place. What is he, an introvert? He wonders what is going on. Lee calls Akamori a salaryman and tells him that when he is done with the party, wait outside. He says he came here to see him today because he has something important to tell him. He turns towards Lee, saying he is back again, and asks for his purpose. Lee asks him to leave, stating if he interferes, he will unearth him. The guy covers Akamori, stating he is right because he is very unlucky today. It turns out to be none other than Ayada. Lee asks what he means by that. He decides to leave by saying he has some urgent matter to handle too. Ayada uses his flying leg to terrify Lee. He tells Lee to leave or he will unearth him right at the spot. Yesterday's enemy is today's friend. Akamori wonders if that is how things work. There is one more person other than Gunakuji who aims to be the strongest. They finally sent Lee H1 to Japan. Some men are discussing Lee when it is revealed that it has been 20 years since Lee was taken from an orphanage. At last, after all these years, the strongest revenge machine is complete. Lee's life was solely composed of strict training and receiving extra human growth hormones. He was taught that his only purpose in life was to vanish Akamori. With this, the man's revenge on Akamori for unearthing his son will finally be accomplished. Lee is ready, much stronger than the man's late son, who was a national hero. Such a monster cannot be publicized. At present, Ayada kicks Lee while Akamori tries to cover Kawashi's eyes. He asks Ayada what is he trying to do. He doesn't want them to compete here. Ayada asks Akamori if he wants to compete with Lee in front of his colleagues. Realizing what is happening, Akamori takes Kawashi with him while stating they should go back as it seems like the opposition is about to start. Lee and Ayada have a small conversation where Ayada asks Lee if he really wants to vanish from Earth. He asks Lee not to just ignore him. He suggests going outside if he doesn't want to be kicked from his back. On the other hand, Akamori wonders he is reluctant, but he guesses he has no choice but to leave it to him. With that, Lee and Ayada go outside on the streets to begin their competition. Ayada looks at Lee, claiming he doesn't seem to be normal. He assumes that it is the revenge he is after. He says Lee raising a hand at Akamori is also troublesome for him. He tells Lee that his revenge is urgent so he can leave him for some other day. But if he still insists, then he will have to defeat him first. With that said, Lee marches off towards Ayada, but Ayada escapes the blow with just a few inches. Lee says that he is not in a state where the like of him can assume. His whole life has been for today. The two begin their opposition in order to beat each other and defeat their enemy. Ayada is surprised by Lee's abnormal sharpness. The switch in his movements is also fast. His kicks come flying from every direction. His sense of balance and agility is out of the ordinary, which establishes those whip-like continuous kicks. Kickboxing, Lee is the same as Ayada. He thinks that he is wrong and guesses that this is Taekwondo. At that moment, Ayada jumped back and was filled with a shred of bewilderment and relief. Taekwondo is the weakest standing technique. The WTF's commitment to their point system was the cause of this misunderstanding among the public. For Taekwondo is built on practicality, so damaging the human body is extremely easy. However, Ayada already knew. Even so, he still believes that his kickboxing is superior. In Taekwondo, 95% of aims are footwork. Within that, its main tool is super speed and ever-changing roundhouse kicks. Experts add more power to the roundhouse kick during the 4 steps, but it is ineffective against kickboxing. Immediately after steps 1 to 2, a kickboxer can perform a quick blow, or he can counter against steps 2 and 3 with a low kick. Otherwise, they can force step 4 to miss by clinching and delivering an elbow strike. No matter the range, it can surely be overthrown. Taekwondo can never beat kickboxing. However, Lee, who is full of bad intent, is an exception. There is no resin in it. There are steel safety shoes. The weight of these shoes that Lee wears on a daily basis would be literal shackles for ordinary people. They are 2 kilograms on 1 foot. To maneuver his body at such a high speed that it becomes a tool. He could say his Taekwondo is no longer that of a human but a vanisher's martial art. A heavy axe kick swinging down from overhead. This should have been more than enough power to crush Ayada's theory and skull. But this power became an opportunity for Ayada. Both the massive 2 kilograms and the angle velocity when it swings upward from a powerful centrifugal force which causes Lee's pivot leg to rise up high. With an overwhelming difference in power, and while believing that he would finish this in the next blow, a gap appeared. Ayada's daredevil side was brought out by the number of oppositions he has been through. With his kickboxing pride now thrown away, his vanishing intent rules him up once again. As he is about to vanish Lee, and 2 police officers come to them asking what is he doing. They ask the 2 to hurry up and separate. They take the 2 of them to the police station for further interrogation. While leaving, Ayada tells Lee that next time, he will vanish him. The police officer is calling for some backup when Ayada runs away. After the party ends, Akamori and Kawashi thank their boss for the delicious meal. As the boss leaves, Kawashi asks Akamori if they are headed in the same direction. He apologizes to Kawashi stating he has an important call and asks her to go ahead. With no choice left, Kawashi turns around to leave while making a crying face. As Akamori is about to leave too, Ayada spots him asking what is he doing. He says that he came here despite fractures in his lower leg. Akamori says it sounds painful and suggests Ayada go to a hospital. Ayada grabs Akamori stating he told him he has something he wanted to tell him. Akamori doesn't want to listen to Ayada and says it is almost time for his last train too. Ayada offers Akamori some taxi fare in exchange for listening to him and staying with him for like 30 minutes. Akamori finally gives in and decides to listen to Ayada. However, he says he has one condition. He says it might be more like a part of Ayada's responsibility. He says he doesn't know how to call a taxi, that's why Ayada will have to call it for him. He knows how to destroy humans, but he doesn't know how to call a taxi. Ayada agrees to call a taxi for Akamori after they are done talking. Akamori also demands to have a coffee, making Ayada wonder what is wrong with his guy.